Hi there, welcome back. Today I'm going to be reading chapter 2 in my book, The Thorn in My Flesh. It is titled When Grace Found Me. If you have not heard my chapter reading, chapter 1 of my book, you might want to go back and listen and watch that one first, and then come back and watch this video. Today, chapter 2, When Grace Found Me. As I look back, this was the season when grace truly found me. When God became more than a name I had heard in church. It was the moment I began to know Him intimately, not through rules or religion, but through encounter and love. It began early in 2020, right before the world changed. I was living in Rogers, Arkansas, when I came down with what I thought was a simple cold. Within days, it became something far worse. A deep cough settled in, and breathing grew so difficult that I could no longer lie down to sleep. Each night, I sat upright on the couch, gasping for air and whispering short prayers between shallow breaths. At first, I thought it would pass, but it didn't. After more than a week, I went to the doctor. That was the first time I heard about a new virus called COVID. She suspected that's what I had, but testing was still limited. She diagnosed me with bronchitis, handed me medicine, and sent me home. Days passed, and I still couldn't breathe properly. Fear crept in. I wondered if I should go to the emergency room, but I was also afraid I might not come home again. So I did what I had been taught since childhood. I prayed. Sometimes my prayers were silent, thoughts whispered in my heart because I could barely breathe. I cried out to God, sometimes with words, sometimes with tears. Slowly, something began to shift. My strength returned. My breathing grew easier. Within 2 weeks, I realized I was healed. That experience left a mark on me that I'll never forget. I knew God had touched me. And as I recovered, one thought consumed me. I don't want to leave this world without knowing why I'm here. With churches closed and the world in lockdown, I turned my living room into a sanctuary. I prayed, I worshiped, I sought God with everything in me. There were no crowds, no sermons, just me and Him. One day I lost track of time in prayer. What I thought were minutes turned into hours. In that quiet place, something extraordinary happened. I began to see visions. Jesus was there, sitting with me, speaking words that healed my heart. I'm not judging you. I'm not condemning you. Those words pierced through every fear, every wound, and every misunderstanding I had carried since childhood. I broke down in tears. For the first time, I felt His love, not as a distant truth, but as a real presence. Later, I realized this was the beginning of my prophetic journey. The Holy Spirit began teaching me to recognize His voice and understand His language through dreams, impressions, and visions. Months later, when churches began reopening, I started attending a nearby Assembly of God church. The people welcomed me without judgment, and I immediately felt peace. Still, one question burned in my heart. Lord, what have you called me to do? About 5 months after joining, I attended a Saturday night prayer meeting. It was good, though nothing unusual happened, or so I thought. That night, when I got home, I received a Facebook friend request from one of the men who had been at the meeting. I accepted it without much thought. The next morning, I woke up to a message from him that would change everything. He told me I had been having dreams and visions, which was true, and that I was called to prophesy. Then he said plainly, "You are prophetic." He described things about me that only God and I knew. Right then, I knew this was the confirmation I had been praying for. God had not only healed my body, He was awakening my calling. Soon after that, I joined the church's worship team. Worship drew me even closer to His presence. Every time I lifted my voice, I felt Him teaching me more about intimacy, about hearing His heart and moving with His Spirit. As time went on, I began receiving prophetic words for others, first through dreams, then through impressions and visions while praying. Even in my weakness, God used me. I learned that intimacy with Him opens doors to minister to others, and that His grace covers every imperfection. This was the start of my journey, learning to hear God, receive His grace, and walk in the calling He had placed on my life. It was a season of awakening, a time when the Holy Spirit began to guide me beyond the rules I had grown up with into the real freedom of His love. I have some reflective questions here at the end. How you could also answer these in the comments if you'd like. How have you experienced God's presence in moments of fear, illness, or uncertainty? What does intimacy with God look like in your own life? In what ways do you see grace covering your weakness? How do you discern God's voice amid the busyness or silence of daily life? If this chapter spoke to you, you can find my book on my website at sonyadearministries.org if you do not want to wait to see what happens. You could also find it on Amazon as well. There is an Amazon link on my website that you could click on that will take you right to the link on Amazon. I want to thank you all for watching. Next time I come on to read, I'm going to be reading chapter 3. It is titled, No Distractions, the Honeymoon Season. I'll see you all next time. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye.